Hi, my name is Myles Perez, and you are watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press. Today I'm so happy to be joined by Myles Perez. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I know we were just talking a bit beforehand. The show My Life with the Walter Boys just dropped on Netflix on Thursday. It is doing so well. I know this weekend, premiere weekend on the charts.
Mhm. Yeah, it's doing crazy well. I think like number one in 33 countries. I don't even know how to feel about that. It's kind of overwhelming, and I'm all here for it. I love it. It's going great.
Well,
Love for the cousins, surprisingly.
I know it's funny because when you film it and you're not in every episode, but to see the impact that the Garcias have had, even with
Yeah.
the amount of screen time is definitely, I'm sure, overwhelming for you. And we'll talk about what you've kind of seen online on TikTok in a bit, but I wanted to cycle back, talk about your beginnings. You were born in Florida, but grew up in California. How has your upbringing and your community shaped you?
Uh, it brought me closer to my family. I live with my three other siblings, so there's four of us in total, and us having to move around a lot because of things happening in the world, like the we moved from Florida because the stock market crashed, or so we were forced to move out here, and it really allowed us to depend on each other as a family. So that was cool, and I feel like there was a sense of security in that, and because we were always so tight and we never looked for that outside of places, you know what I mean? And yeah, it was just it always felt like we were moving, we weren't settling in a certain place. And then I feel like that transitioned into my acting because it made me keep wanting work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you mentioned three siblings. I know you grew up in a household that also really encouraged performing. So between you and your siblings, was there always something on the go?
Oh, most definitely. Also we grew up constantly going to Filipino functions and constantly having to perform in front of family. So it's fun. It's interesting. Maybe when we were younger, there's a little more envy between the siblings and everyone because we all got into acting together. I'm kind of just the one who stuck it out as a kid. Um, but super talented people. I mean, my brother's a dancer. My sister is a really good singer. Her voice is insane. And my brother Zach, I mean, he was just the older brother anyone could wish for. He kind of just guided us all where we needed to be while instilling confidence in all of us. So it was cool. It was kind of like, it got I wouldn't say it ever got like super rough at times, but it was there were moments where siblings were like, but then it's like as you mature, you kind of just figure out what you really like doing and what you're doing just, you know, because you have to. And our parents were very open with that conversation, by the way. I know there's a lot of Hollywood stories where it's like these parents made these guys. I feel like it's they've always opened the conversation because we've been doing this for such a long time. They've always opened the conversation with, "Are you sure you want to do this?" They always gave us an out. And me as a young kid, just doing commercials or going driving out to LA, it was like, how could you not want to do this? You know what I mean? I got to skip school. I got to just work on set, which is like the best thing ever. I got to experience crafty a million times. That was fun. That's probably my favorite part.
Definitely can't hate the free food, especially as a kid. But
Oh
it
yeah.
is interesting, I guess, to see that parallel because when you get into the industry and you're so young, it only when you grow older, you start to maybe question some things you do, some roles you take on. I wanted to talk a bit about your mixed heritage because you are Puerto Rican and Filipino. So how has that part played a part in your identity? I know you mentioned all the Filipino functions when you were young.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like people who deal with mixed heritage in general they find a struggle within finding identity, like putting yourself here or putting yourself there. My parents are very, and I say this in the nicest light possible, they're very prideful people, and they've made sure that us four kids knew who we are and on both sides of the spectrum. The my mom is straight up from the Philippines. She came here when she was younger, and she's a very proud Filipino lady. And we were always going to, like I said earlier, going to Filipino functions, and she constantly reminds us on a daily basis of what we are and what that means. And my father, on the other hand, didn't grow up in Puerto Rico, but he did grow up in New York, where there are a lot of Puerto Ricans, and they're very proud and very loud. And it's just these two very, I guess, great tastes of culture, and it's cool because it's for me, it's never been like, okay, I'm gonna go out in the world and figure out where I belong. It's kind of just like I felt like a sense of belonging because of what they instilled in us. And that includes going out into the world, going to school, acting. Acting got a little tricky because things are typecasted and you do sort of have to find yourself in a certain field, which is weird. I mean, it's something I've acknowledged, of course, but I've realized that I'm racially ambiguous. I can't fully play some Spanish roles or fully play some any Filipino roles, you know. But I've been fortunate enough to just find myself in a good spot and just keep pushing through it no matter what. And it just it isn't something that's built in me. It's not something I recognize from actors when I'm watching the screen. It's not something I really pay a lot of attention to just because it's not how my brain is trained. It's not like I'm very doubtful in how I'm going to fit in a certain area.
In terms of the career and opportunities, is it something that you've ever kind of been, I want to say, down about in terms of when people are typecast and you aren't maybe getting roles that you think you could be right for because of that mixed heritage?
Not really. I think since a young age, I've been pretty aware of the fact that people, it's never felt, okay, sorry, I'm jumping the board, but like coming from dance too and acting and being in these two industries at once as a kid, I gravitated a lot towards acting because it didn't feel competitive. I mean, it can, depending on how you look at it, but dancing is like, okay, you go in a room with 100 kids, you all line up, and then they cycle you in, they put a number on you. You're looking at your competition, you're dancing and seeing these people, and it's very competitive, you know? With acting, it's kind of like, okay, you all go inside this room with one person. Sometimes you see people that might, be in your typecast or whatnot, but it's never something that felt competitive. So I don't even remember paying attention too much. Plus, I'm an introvert, so like I wasn't friends with a lot of actors or keeping up with the scene. It was always something like this. There's always this sense of ignorance is bliss, and I'm kind of just going through everyday life while I have this acting thing on the side. Um, but I do feel like because I'm more racially ambiguous. I don't go for, like I said, I don't go for roles that are too Spanish or too. So it does impact the roles I do play for. I wouldn't know how to describe it.
It is like an interesting line for you, I'm sure, to kind of navigate when auditions come in and things like that. You did kind of mention competition. So, for you being so young, competing in competitions, both on TV and at public events, these big, large kind of spectacles, what did these experiences teach you about the industry?
Oh, they taught me a lot about the industry. No disrespect to dancers. I love the dance community, but it can be very competitive and toxic at times. So I feel like because it has to be. I mean, dancers aren't exactly treated the best when it comes to the industry. And so they have to really, they're really hardworking people. And so I feel like doing that as a kid, which is bad. Everyone's nice to you when you're a kid, you know. It's cool. But it did train me by just helping me experience what it's like to be a part of teams and be on set, just experience with being on set. And it was cool because I did this one show, it was called Lip Sync Battle Shorties, and the experience of being on a show, even as a dancer, just walking in to this big studio and constantly going every week to hang out with these people that become really close at the time. It's something that's still relevant in my life now. And I love every second of it because it really does just feel like you're vacationing with your friends and you're doing something you love. And it's a very, I'm very fortunate to be living this. It's fun. It's all fun.
It sounds like those times are very eye-opening for you, but it's nice to think back, and I'm sure you do have a lot of like good memories
Oh
from
yeah.
those times as well.
Mm.
As we get into talking about your current project, what can you share about your audition and casting process for My Life with the Walter Boys?
Okay, so this won't be fun. I believe I'm like 80% confident in this statement. If I'm wrong, oh well. But I believe me and Isaac were the last few casted. So I think because we were the last ones casted, it's so crazy how this worked. It sort of felt like high school. You know, we were going into this thing. We were like the last ones to show up. We're going into this this family that's kind of already known each other and who've already built these tight bonds. I say already, it's like a month. They were shooting like a month before we got there. Um, it was very intimidating for me. A lot of I was super anxious. I'm not too much of a social person. So flying to a new country, having to meet all these people, first of all, alone because Isaac didn't come till like 2 days after me, and I was already filming. Um, it was very nerve-wracking. I don't and it's not none of their faults. They're all very welcoming and great people. Don't get me wrong. It was just a me, and I was just figuring out how to navigate that. And good thing my mom was there. She would talk me a lot through it. Um, but that's the thing about Isaac is me and Isaac have known each other since we were like babies, not babies. We were like I was like 15. We met once at this acting training camp for Nickelodeon, and literally just once, and then we kept in contact through this fun video game called Fortnite. Great game. It was during the COVID time. We were just in our rooms playing, and that's the only way we kept in contact, is just through video games. And so I got the job, and I was like, who else but the job? My manager was giving me all the names, and then she gave me my brother, and I was like, Isaac, I know Isaac. So I was working on another job at that time, but I FaceTimed him right when I found out it was him. And he was just playing a video game. He was like, "Yeah, what's up, bro?" And I'm like, "Dude, are you like Isaac Garcia?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And then I was like, "Dude, I'm gonna play your little brother. This is great." Which is weird, by the way, because I am older than him. And it's never like I've never seen him as like this older brother, but it's cool because we've always known each other. And then he keeps playing the video game, and then I tell him, and then he just doesn't break eye contact with the video game. He's like, "Nah, no way." And I'm like, "Dude, can you show a little more excitement? This is exciting. We're gonna be brothers." So flash forward, I'm in Calgary meeting the cast, and I just remember the sense I had with Isaac. Even though he's my brother in the show, he's also just he's a sense of familiarity, and he's someone I know. So it was at the beginning, it was me and him sort of just navigating our way through all of this and getting to know everyone and having him there. And we would like really pick on each other. I mean, those scenes of us fighting, like the cupcake scene or whatever, that's real.
Wasn't
But it
scripted at all. You're
wasn't
like, we
scripted
just
at all. But I just realized how prominent that is in the show too, of because like our characters also joined this family later. It all worked out. And I thought it was really cool. In
I think it's
retrospect.
great that you got to work on the show together, and the fact that he didn't seem very excited when you first told him
Yeah,
the
I'm like,
news,
okay.
though he was just
I'm
focused
like,
on winning the game.
I'm like, that's Isaac. He didn't change. Love the guy. Great guy.
Very like that nonchalant
Yeah.
attitude in the show.
Oh, can I
What
also add something?
Yes.
I originally auditioned for Isaac, and I didn't even know about the role of Lee. It wasn't until I first got the news that I booked the job, and then my manager was like, "Oh, by the way, you're not even playing Isaac, you're playing Lee." And it makes a lot more sense, especially knowing now what I know and who Isaac is. Uh, I think the casting worked out perfectly. I don't think I could ever play that role myself. I don't think I have the confidence for that. But
That's great that you did the audition for Isaac, and then, they just basically gave you the role of Lee. You didn't even have to like do a callback for this other
oh,
character.
that's the thing. I didn't do this was like the only show that I didn't do any callback at all. It was one take. And I'm not sure if I've said that before, but it's just crazy because being in this industry for so long, this being my dream to book something reoccurring, or at least a show, or and going through these things as a kid, going through these huge processes of 10 auditions, and going in front of a room of 30 people just looking at you as like a 12-year-old, and all that sort of trained me for something. And then I just do one self tape with my sister, send it out, and 3 months later, it was a long time until I got the call. It was like 3 months later, I got the job, and I was like, that's it. It was crazy, and I think it's perfect because the way they casted me and Isaac, people genuinely think we're like brothers.
I can see a likeness there. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
know when you guys post photos and everything, like you can definitely see the similarities. I'm curious about, what similarities and differences you saw between yourself and Lee in terms of his personality, his values, his interests.
Mhm. Uh, I want to start this by saying everything you know about Lee is probably exactly what I know about Lee. It's pretty much all out there. only references I had were the book and a character description, which was very open. So I do relate a lot with his the way he's trying to fit in with the family and his family dynamic. I mean, me being the youngest boy of two boys, and then my sister just arrives because she's younger than me, and then she gets all the attention. I mean, now it's silly, but like when I was younger, that I remember my parents always told me I used to fight my sister a lot, and I had this anger problem with my baby sister. And I guarantee it was because of that. And so I feel like him seeking that attention and him getting triggered by the whole Jackie situation feels the same as if when my sister arrived, you know? And I feel like that's where we relate the most. I I do like his sensitivity and I do admire his vulnerability. It's not hard for him to be vulnerable. I think it is harder for Isaac, but Lee, you could see him when he's going through his moments and he gets emotional and it's very on the surface. You could tell when he's angry, you could tell when he's sad. And that's something I don't tend to do. I think just from maturity, maybe we're growing up. It's not like it's more me figuring out how to deal with things. And I think watching Lee figure out how to deal with things because he's younger than me and because he's going through all this at once and his dad left for the military and his new environment, these new people, boys, lots of people he probably still can't talk to about his issues. It's definitely going to come out pretty aggressive.
Yeah, just a minor when he kind
Yeah.
of like blows up or you know, he has these moments
But
with his brother. Yeah.
yeah, but I do like the fact that he has that redemption little moment in the little glimpses of screen time that he had to sort of just show, hey, this guy is not that bad, eh?
We'll talk about that scene in a bit, which I really loved. What do you think drew you towards the script and the story of My Life with the Walter Boys, like including the Wattpad novel by Ali Novak?
I liked I enjoyed how up for interpretation it was because it's a book and there are these very it's like very two-dimensional characters that you get to sort of bring your own voice to and your own embodiment of these things written on a page. I think that's cool because it's not a lot of I feel like as an actor, it's really easy to fall into putting yourself in a box for a character, you know, and trying to just stay in this box when I think it's for Lee, it wasn't even something I would say I prepped for. It was just a character. I think the description was Lee, Isaac's little brother, loves to skate. I'm like, okay. And I feel like finding the character was just trying on his lines and going through that. And I feel like that's what drew me in about the character, the fact that it was so open and the fact that I could have a little creativity with it. And I mean, the way they sort of wrote on the go and figured us out also as actors and like put our character in the character. I think that was really cool. Lee became a little sassy. I don't
So
know where that comes
that was your doing then.
from.
I
I don't know
love
where
that.
that comes
You can
from.
kind of work on it as you go along and that it's not so specific and clear cut, which I think is any kind of actor's dream, I'm sure. You did allude to, you know, the fact Lee and Isaac's mother left when they were young. I think that was a character description that was released. We know their father is a deployed soldier. Were you given any backstory on this element or perhaps created one with yourself or with Isaac just to give yourself, you know, peace of mind, get into the mindset of your characters and their past?
Uh, we weren't given any specific backstory. We know about the father in the military from the scripts, and with our mom, no specific thing going on. For me as an actor, I feel like I take every role differently, and this one was very like I didn't have a foolproof method of going into this character. I kind of just tried it on and figured it out as I went. I feel like that works good for me. It allows you to sit in the voice of Lee and sort of bring out these emotions, and that's when you question them. You're like, why does he feel this way? Or and I did not build a backstory, but I'm always like I'm a very curious person, and I'm always asking other actors about their process or whatnot. And I was in a car with Sarah Rafferty, and we had a really good conversation, and she was very, very consoling because I don't know, I was struggling with the character a bit, and she helped me dive into her method of how she creates characters and creates backstories and really does the extra homework that I don't think it works for me personally, but it's nice hearing it. And it's she built a character for my mom in which I thought was really cool. But we don't know exactly what's going on there. I know just a little bit of abandonment issues with Lee. And I feel like for me, I just always correlate that with something going on in my life or something that's real to me rather than trying too hard to build this whole world that could be so vague. But even though it like might work for some people, I don't think my brain works like that. You know what I mean?
I think that if it's whatever works for you and your process. I love hearing that Sarah was so nurturing to you though and trying to kind of help you along with your character. But what's great about, you know, not having it in the show right now is it's something that could come up in the future and something you could dive deeper into.
Yeah. Hopefully, waiting for that season two, you know?
How old are Lee and Isaac supposed to be in present day in the show?
So not confirmed in the show. In the book, I think Lee was like 15. I think Lee was a sophomore. Isaac was a junior. But now the show's kind of interesting. It flips some ages,
I was
took
gonna
out
say it's a bit ambiguous in the show. I'm trying
yeah.
to like figure out where everyone kind of slots in on that age chart.
I think it's for me and Isaac, at least our dynamic, I do believe my character is younger than his. I'm pretty sure they stayed true to that part, especially with our dynamic and how I act compared to how he acts. I think that's that much I know. I know I'm younger than him.
Could be 1 year, could be 2 years, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
We're both in high school though. So somewhere, I don't know. I have no idea how old Isaac is. I know me, I'm at least a freshman or at least a sophomore. Isaac, he's I
He
can't
could
tell.
be anywhere.
Yeah, I have
You
no
should
idea.
ask him after, how old do you actually think your character
Yeah.
is?
I'll shoot him a text.
Lee is a skater. How long do you imagine he's been skateboarding for, and what does he enjoy about the sport? Like, is it a bit of a kind of release for him?
I definitely think it's a release. I feel like a lot of people who skate, it's sort of just it's an expression for sure. Um, it's just one of his hobbies. I don't think I have no idea what else he does besides skate in the house and pout. But I know he skates. Uh, and he really enjoys it. So I definitely think it could be a cope. I think it's something he really likes to do. I don't know how long he's been skating, to be honest.
You do skateboard a bit yourself, is that correct?
I've dabbled.
So
I
that was
wouldn't.
my question because like did it come first that was it already written in that he was a skateboarder or
Oh yeah,
vice
that's
versa?
been
Okay.
a thing since like the book, which is weird. I booked two skateboarding roles like back to back. This one being the second one, and I haven't skated since middle school. I get the gist of it. I know how to ride, maybe land a kickflip. Um, but it's just crazy what they what you have to do in some of these shots. You're like, you get to set and you're like, this kitchen's kind of tight, eh? And I'm just supposed to drop in, scoot, do this, go over here while the whole family is crossing. Okay, yeah, I could do that. Um, it was cool getting back into. They were very careful with me getting on the board. They're like handling me
No
like a
onset
toddler.
accidents.
Yeah,
Crashing into Nikki when you were whizzing by her out the door.
exactly. They had some guy on the walkie-talkie making sure I don't miss my mark.
Was Lee's style and fashion sense similar to your own?
Oh no, not at all. Um, no, I think Lee's in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't exactly, he's not a city boy, and I think they've painted that picture with a lot of the fits that the cast is wearing, which makes Jackie stand out in a great way. With Lee's fit, not something I'd wear. That's it. It's not something I'd wear.
Nothing else. So you were definitely not asking to raid wardrobe on your way home from set once production wrapped.
No, but there were some hidden gems where I was like he had these cool pants from Urban Outfitters one time, and I was like, yo, I kind of want these. Like there's some fits.
Are those the ones that said okay on them, or is
Yeah.
it?
Oh, this is a crazy story with those. But yeah, it's sometimes I would walk into my wardrobe not expecting much for good reason, but and then I would be surprised with certain items, and I'm just like, and a lot of my fits. The funny thing is they had a lot of smiley faces. I had a bucket hat with like a smiley face, and for a character who's always pissed off at the world and blaming everyone else, I find that very funny. The pants had hidden smiley faces. It was just a little interesting Easter egg that they put in there.
Little ironic.
Yeah, I thought it was silly.
A big part of Lee's story this season, you kind of alluded to this earlier, resentment towards Jackie related to receiving attention, maybe something like preferential treatment in the Walter household. So prior to her arrival, do you think that he was happy? Did he get along with the Walter boys, or was there always just stewing a bit of that upset, maybe sadness over his living situation?
I think Jackie was a big trigger. I do think he was still coping with everything and figuring out his place in the family and figuring out, I guess him throwing tantrums is his way of communicating his feelings because I mean, he was never taught otherwise. He's going through a lot, and it's something very huge in his world. I mean, moving with these boys and not being in contact with his mother, who can help him with some of those more sensitive issues, instead being moved into this family with his auntie, who, who knows what he can actually communicate even with her. But I do think because of that little clip of redemption for him, I think he is very aware and more intuitive than people might think. And I think he wants to do right. I just think he's kind of blinded by his emotions sometimes, and he doesn't realize how to deal with them, especially because he's young. He's like middle school to high school, just entering. If he is a freshman, who knows how old he is? He could be like 30. Um, he's still trying to figure that out. And so yeah, I think Jackie was a big trigger because it's like, okay, this new person's here. She also has a messed up situation. Um, kind of kind of very messed up situation going on. And so it's kind of interesting to look at because it's like while all of these kids are just playing a very silly prank, it could be a very bad or negative thing for Lee because he feels very emotionally involved with Jackie's demise without even realizing it. So it's like for everyone else, which I think is cool because he's very more intense than some of the other people when it comes to the harmless pranks and that I think it's fun to see him react sort of and see like why is he so serious all this time if it's like a silly prank. And it's because of those undealt with emotions and those talks that he hasn't had, which is why I thought it takes a lot of courage to confront those feelings and confront the person head on. So I don't think he deals too much with the pride issue. I think that might be Isaac more because he is the older brother. And sorry, I keep mentioning I'm very fascinated with Isaac's character.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I love kind of hearing that analysis. And, for Lee, like you mentioned, there could be that ulterior motive for him behind, wanting to be involved in all these things with Jackie. He was quite upset about the separate washroom as well, probably thinking, we came in, where's our separate washroom? I was a bit disappointed that we didn't get to see I guess I'm assuming he shares a room with Isaac, but we didn't get to see, sorry, their bedroom. Unlike everyone else. Did you actually film any scenes in a room or?
I did. I think one made it in just a very short clip of it was like a montage of us getting ready. Um, skateboard stuff.
It's cool to see
On
what
my
Sat
side.
Deck puts into your room because with Danny, he has like the Broadway thing going on,
Yeah,
and then the Cole has the cars, so it's kind of cool to see those little elements come
that's
together.
true. They full on built this really cool room for me and Isaac, which wasn't shown a lot. You're right. Wasn't I think it was only shown once. But wow. I mean, if I had like super good memory, I would tell you everything in there. I remember skateboard stuff. Maybe there was like some snowboarding cool items. I wasn't sure what Isaac was into. I really wasn't. Like I
I'm
forgot.
still trying to figure out what is, he doesn't really have a passion. We know he's a big flirt, but how do you translate that into his interests? Who
It's just a
knows?
blank wall, no posters or nothing.
Blank canvas. He needs to find that identity.
Just
Um,
one giant mirror for himself.
Probably. Tell me about the kids no snitching rule and kind of like the culture nature behind it in the context of the Walter household.
I mean, it's just the rule, you know. You gotta follow the rule. It's cool because it's like even though we're not technically full blood with this family, it's cool that the siblings all have this little pact. And I think that was just showing an example of that. You know, the no snitching, it kind of it like it shows everyone's loyalty to just the kids, which I think is cool. Which is why I hope if there's a new season, we have more interactions with each other, you know, with more scenes with just us Walters, us kids, you know.
I think that with the pact, it's almost like, if everyone abides by it, nobody gets in trouble with George and Catherine because they will
Yeah.
never know the true culprit, right?
Hmm. Exactly.
Which was your favorite scene to be a part of and why?
Favorite scene to be a part of. I liked the last scene I did with Isaac. One of the last scenes. Um, it's where we were doing the cupcakes. They cut a bit out, but there was definitely parts where I just really get that cupcake in his face with the icing all over. And the way they wrote it, it was just like, okay, after 5 months of practically living with you, we're about to go home right after this. I'm just gonna have this moment. And boom, it was cool. We were making these cupcakes. And I was acting all shy too. I was like, you sure you want me to throw it in his face? That's it's not like me, you know? And then right when I got the cupcake in my hand, I just knew it was right. You know, I just saw his Isaac face and his I just stuffed it in there. And they didn't even use that take of the actual thing getting on his pretty face. I'm like, damn it. Now he still has a pretty face. And I, what did my character achieve? I thought that was my arc. I thought that was my whole thing.
Where's the blooper reel? Like, we need this additional
That's true. Where,
footage. That is
where
so disappointing that that didn't make it in because you can kind of see them starting to throw like sprinkles at each other and whatnot. But I mean, that was your main character moment right
that
there.
was it. That is what I signed up for. But it's okay. Season 2 probably. That's how it'll start.
You still got to feel good from that experience, so you have that with you always.
Yeah.
All the meal scenes at the kitchen table or just in the kitchen look so much fun to be around. Was that true for you in this space?
Yes, especially as an actor, because you sort of just get out of your head. And it's with all of this chaos going on, you really have no choice but to be in the scene and not so much, how do I do this? How do I say this line? What do I do? Who do I talk to? You know what I mean? It's with all the chaos going on, you know what you have to do. You just have to try to get this person's attention or express your thoughts on this. And it's cool with everything going on. I love the chaos because it really does take the pressure off and makes you feel like you're just part of this chaotic family. Um, it's great. I love those scenes.
Lee was having the ham and mushroom pizza for breakfast. I love the justification. It's like all the food groups. Is that something that you would ever dare to eat for breakfast or have done in the past?
I just find it so funny with like just the scattered lines I have across the show. It's just so random. Um, I think it says a lot about his character. Uh, Borderline psychopath. Um, but that's okay. I would never have a ham and mushroom pizza for breakfast. But it's okay. We love Lee, he's different.
Episode 5, another memorable one, of course, the Thanksgiving call with his dad. So we talked about, Isaac, he clearly has lower expectations than Lee with their dad connecting with him when he's overseas. For Lee, just because this one's a bit more concrete, abandonment with his dad, do you know or think about why his dad's absence hits him so hard, especially when, he doesn't turn up for that initial scheduled call, later lashes out at Isaac and Jackie at dinner?
So with Isaac, I think in this moment he's very vulnerable and very isolated, and this the some slight sense of familiarity he has with Isaac, there's this misunderstanding because Isaac doesn't feel the same way that he does about this situation. For good reason. Isaac is the older brother. In his mindset, it's like if we don't expect anything, we can't be hurt in a sense. And he just has to be strong. But to Lee, it's his dad, it feels like this is his everything. He still clings on to hope. He may be a little naive because he is younger, but that makes it all very real to him and very, this is a big deal. And the fact that Isaac doesn't reciprocate that also can bring out some doubts he has in his brain as well, which he doesn't want to confront. Um, so he bottles it up, and then boom, he pushes Isaac, and it's very, that whole art or that whole subplot with his dad is very important to him, and it really does affect how he is just living, and affects how he acts in everyday life and whether he's happy or not. And because he lives every day thinking, okay, maybe I'm going to talk to my dad this day, I'm going to be fine, everything's okay. When that doesn't happen, it's a really big deal. And it's hard. I think it's exactly how I'd expect him to react, especially as a 15-year-old, 15, 14, I don't know, angsty boy. It's just his way of getting it out. And it's something that had to be done. I find it funny that he went straight for the wine.
They were like, nope, not having it. But I think it'd be interesting to also explore, of course, maybe in the future, what kind of relationship he had with his dad prior to him leaving. But it's also confronting, maybe fears that he might not see his dad again or his dad might not return. So there's obviously that
Yeah.
really kind of emotional reaction that he gets to when he doesn't make the scheduled call. And then he later apologizes to Jackie. Was that a special moment for you, not only in the context of Lee's story, but you also got to speak some brief Spanish opposite Nikki?
Yeah. That was crazy because that was my first scene I've ever shot. And I think that helped a lot with the sort of awkwardness between me and or Lee and Jackie, because it's like I just met this person in a tent. We're about to film probably like my most pivotal moment in the show. And because there was that awkward tension, it started off as me walking in a room and it's like, what am I doing here? This is the first time I'm even looking at this room. And then you see my character sort of take a shift and be like, start to really care for Jackie. And maybe it's because he doesn't want her feeling isolated because he knows how it feels. Um, and then when he whipped out the Spanish, he was just, it was sort of the comforting, okay, we're all family, you know, not even our cultural background differences can affect that. And at least you have someone with that. And I think that was good, not only on representation level, but I think it was just sweet, very sweet moment for them because of all the pain I've caused poor Jackie. Not me, Lee, sorry. Sometimes I still feel like the character. Still,
I I think that it's really cool to see because I imagine that the Garcias don't speak a lot of Spanish in their day-to-day life. So I would
yeah,
love to see them converse more with Jackie in I guess like their native language. Do you speak fluent Spanish?
I don't. I don't. I had two languages that I had potential of learning, but our parents just we didn't learn. I don't know if that's our fault, their fault, but
I'm sure
two
your parents would say it's your fault.
two house two languages in the household that would go on, and you just as kids, our brains are like, "Doop."
Maybe with the show you can learn a bit more. I guess we'll see. In episode 7, there's the auditorium fight scene between Cole and Alex. Is there anything memorable that you remember from that scene, but also the scene after the fact with George and Catherine at home with, the boys at the table? Because those are some pretty intense moments in the season.
That scene was great. I remember it was fun. Any physical scene where we got to be, getting these people off. It's just a fun thing. you know, Especially as actors, you have these very intense moments. And so to, because it's all real, you know what I mean? It's all us physically taking this man and pulling him off. And I thought it was cool how all of us could do that together. At first, I was confused. I was like, why am I in the scene? What am I doing? you know, but it was a really cool scene. It was fun. With the scene where we get grounded, I remember feeling that. Like why me? What the hell did I do? you know? And so that line was very easy to say. I remember something funny. Isaac, he was talking about Danny because Danny was doing his monologue over and over again, and everyone was kind of over it. And Isaac, there's just one take where Isaac was like, "Okay, okay, Connor, we get it. Can you stop with the monologue?" And then Danny just like looks at camera. He's like, "Who's Connor?" and then I thought that was funny because it's like we spend so much time with each other outside of work. And I've almost caught myself slipping a couple times of just like talking to these people as if they're not people I know. I thought that was a funny moment. But anytime I get to do scenes with the boys is cool. Uh Ashby's always there to lighten the mood. He always makes me crack up.
For you as Lee, what do you think his knowledge and awareness was of the Cole versus Alex relationship? And like, why did the others tolerate it? Because, with when the parents aren't around, they're quite antagonizing towards each other.
I could guarantee some characters obviously care. I don't think Lee cares about the whole situation at all. I don't think he cares about yeah, I just think he's dealing with his own stuff. I don't think he's too involved. And I think in that regard, he's not very problematic. Not he just doesn't care
I
about
think that's
what's
a
going
fair
on.
assessment. Like he's a very neutral party. Like obviously, Danny's pulled into it a bit more because of Cole being his twin. You know, they share a room. He kind of knows Cole's feelings, but like you mentioned for Lee, he has his own stuff going on. He can't really
Right.
bother
Danny's
himself
just a
with.
good guy. Danny's very considerate. He knows how to handle his emotions and be there for people. Lee, he's just a kid going through it. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's often in his own head trying to navigate this. And I think it could also be seen as a distraction from what's going on. So it's not like it's not like he's team Alex or team Cole, you know. But he loves them both.
Episode 10 had Will and Haley's wedding at the family ranch. Is there anything specific you remember from that episode? Any of the wedding activities minus the cupcakes?
It really was like one of the last days we were filming. So it was crazy because none of us had the script. None of us had the last episode until like right before we started filming. And I think they just wanted to keep it a secret, build this suspense. And getting to the wedding scene, it's you see all these faces that you would never work with. I was close with a lot of people I never really worked with or had scenes with. Um, and so being able to be on set with these people, it's like, whoa, everyone's here. Had a great time with Uncle Richard. He's great. I love that guy. Um, yeah, just all these pockets of conversation you get to sort of witness and all these dynamics because it's such a big cast. And it's also like this reminder that okay, this is all over soon. And this is sort of like our last goodbye. We all get to film this last scene together. And I just thought that was cool. I thought it was a perfect way to end everything. And the fact that we shot it on like one of the last days, it was a real emotional time for people. Everyone was saying goodbye, blah, blah, blah. For me, it doesn't hit till after. I'm just like, hey, bye, where are you going? And then I'm just like, oh, where'd everyone go? And then I start to deal with it. I'm like, that was kind of sad, huh?
I love that it was kind of like another celebration, though, like almost like a second wrap party in a way that you got to have most of the cast there. I know there were a few people
Yeah.
missing. With Lee, I imagine it was also really nice for him when Jackie put him in charge. After she and Cole went to get flowers, I feel like that would have meant something more to him.
Yeah, I think the way he lit up, you could see it was very surprising. I don't think Lee often. I think Lee's very in the shadow a lot of the time. He's not a he's not someone who because it's such a big family, you know. He's not someone who gets too much attention. I think that's why he pointed it out. So when someone voluntarily put Lee in charge, it was a very nice thing that no one I shouldn't say no one. Everyone has their moments like Uncle George, but just to be thought of in that way, I think it was really cool.
Especially one where it doesn't seem like a pity ask, because you could say that Uncle George turkey carving was a bit of like a I feel
Yeah,
bad for you.
I had to
Yeah.
go through a bit for him to do that, but
Um,
he did he tried.
it's the effort that counts. Which was your favorite scene that Lee was not in and why?
Probably the pool scene. I would say I've watched that like 30, 50 times. Great scene. The acting was just amazing. The cinematography, I think, was great too. Yeah, it's just I think when if I wasn't, I don't know, because since the show's been out, I've been trying to figure out how to get better as an actor and work on my craft. And I feel like that scene is very educational in so many levels. And the way the way Cole executed that scene, man, it's very special, you know. And I'm sure people would love to see Lee in that pool scene. I know I could hear it, but like, guys, calm down. Calm down. Come on. You know.
So
By the way,
could
in the book I think it sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. In the book, I think it is everyone, right? Everyone's in that pool scene. I think my mom was telling me about that.
so you definitely can see the Cole effect come through.
Oh yeah. But no, I wouldn't say I'm Team Cole. Just something about him. I'd say I'm Team Al I would say I'm Team No, I wouldn't say I'm Team Alex. I would say I'm Team like maybe Isaac or something. Uh, really, really rooting for Isaac. It's my brother.
What might you hope to see from Lee if the show is renewed for season two? And are there any other storylines that you feel compelled to see play out in the future?
I would love to see some maturity with Lee. I feel like that was the hardest thing I tackled with the lines I was given and with the character I was given. I was trying to find it to where this can sound believable and feel natural. And I hope I did a good job. I get pretty harsh on myself, but it was the struggle of trying to add more depth to what I was given and to this character, but also trying to tone it back because this character is a kid and he is younger and he's more he's more vulnerable with his emotions. So I would say I would love to see some maturity from Lee. Uh I would like to see how he deals with the attention dynamic within the family. You know, how what he does outside of the family because he's such a because it's just such a big family. You know what I mean? So what he does outside of the family, what how he copes with his father. I would love to see an arc with like him just fully hating his dad and just going to like a rebellious arc where he's against the world. And so it's either way you can like go whoop and just get worse from here, or he can start developing a sense of maturity and being like hmm start questioning things.
I mean, growth wise, obviously you want to move forward, but in order to kind of like turn the table upside down, you could go the opposite way. Imagine his dad calls and Lee just doesn't want to pick up anymore. It's
That's
like,
what I'm saying. I'd find that interesting. I would see because it would be such a shift and it would be okay, Lee's fed up with this and oh, his dynamic with his brother. I I I would hope it stays as tight as it's been. I know brothers can get rocky or whatnot, But I think it'll be cool if they keep that sort of super tight. No.
Yeah, especially because like they're really in it together. I mean, especially both moving into the house at the same time. What can you say about the cast and the friendships that you formed?
Cass is great. Cass is amazing. All very great people. I know, right? Don't have any more interesting tea to tell you. Uh, I had a lot of, I feel like, one-on-one connections with certain people and certain people. I feel like that's when I really got to know individual actors and Isaac, a lot of one-on-one time. God help me. Just kidding. Great guy. I love the dude. But we just really are like brothers. I mean, every day we'd probably go out and see each other. I knew his brother, he knew my brother. We met families. It's really just great having him around. And he's such a light on set. Um, he's always lifting up the mood and just being Isaac. But yeah, I would say everyone's pretty much great, which is weird because we're all different ages. And also, oh, the kids are amazing, man. I loved hanging out with the kids. They're all super, super, what's the word I'm looking for? They had they were very mature on set, I guess. They were something about those kids. You're just like, what are they feeding these kids? They're very professional. They're having intellectual conversations and very straightforward, very about their work. And it's like, oh my God, I hope I was like this when I was a kid.
Are we talking about like Alex, Dean, Lennox?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alex, Dean, Lennox. Uh, yeah, great kids. Very great kids.
There were a lot of piggyback rides as I saw in
Yeah,
photos.
we'd hang out with them a lot. We would go to like went to the zoo. We ate dinner a lot with them. We hung out with them. I love those kids, man.
Did you enjoy Alberta?
I did enjoy Alberta. I want to go back so bad. It's just so something about it. Those long car rides to set where you see nothing but greenery and trees and deer and these wide fields. And then you go up to Banff and there's these really cool streams of water and these giant mountains that are nothing like I thought California had pretty big mountains. I guess not. These mountains are huge. Um,
It's the Rockies.
I know it's very diverse piece of land, which I thought was really cool. And the city was great. I got to walk around every day. I was just constantly exploring new parts and I love it. I'd love to go back to.
Hopefully for a second season. But we'll talk about the fan support. What have you seen so far on social media? What messages have you received? And what can you say about the TikTok edits that you've been watching?
Oh, I watch all of them. I've literally stay up on my phone just going through all these Cole and Alex and Isaac TikToks. They're so great. It's so weird because it's like seeing how people feel about this show and people I genuinely know is crazy, and it's so much more than I thought and exceeded my expectations. And I genuinely didn't think people would even care too much about Lee. because he's there, he has his little moment, and that's it. Or the Garcias in general. Um, but we've had a lot of support, and it's great. I'm just glad that the show's doing good. I really would love for a season two, so I could see these amazing people and work with them again. It's like that's the big thing. It's just I want to see my friends, and everyone's kind of like scattered across the country. You got people in Canada, you got people the East Coast. It's hard.
I think that people are just very curious about the Garcia's background. I know I'd love to kind of see more about where they came from. And yeah, just hoping the best for the show. Talk about a couple more creative endeavors before we
Yeah.
wrap up. You also have aspirations to direct. Did you have an opportunity to learn the behind the scenes of a production and get to shadow anyone on set?
I didn't get to shadow anyone on set. I was very I'm more of okay, I'll be curious from afar and sort of just pick up on things as I go. Um, yeah, because I've been acting since I was like 10 or 8. I don't know how old I was. But I've always been like that. I've always just been sort of studying as I go and seeing what like the grips do and seeing what, it's very I definitely do want to get into directing. Um, it would be a hassle, and I know how much of a pain it can be because you have a lot to essentially be the leader of in this group project. And hopefully one day that'd be cool.
Yeah, well, hopefully you get more opportunities to learn, even if it's from afar. I'm sure it's like as long as you're kind of being a sponge and soaking everything in,
Yeah.
you'll hopefully get to use those skills at some point. You're also a musician. How would
Mhm.
you describe your music and what inspires you in sound?
Oh, it's such a hard question because I'm not good with like artistic terms and descriptive words to describe. I like a lot of music. I love punk, psychedelic. I love rock. I love hip hop. Um, but I also love indie and band and folk music. It's just so it's all in there, and I don't know how I would describe it. It's I love happy, sad music that doesn't feel too okay. This is a happy song or this is a sad song. God, and it's not like it's like a new question to me. It's just so hard to answer. I feel like the best way I could is just saying some of my influences, which I like. I like Dominic Fike. I like ASAP Rocky. I love Men I Trust, and it's all across the board. So hopefully that helps. I wouldn't know how to describe my sound at all because it's just me jumping from one thing to the next and experimenting a lot. The new hyper pop stuff is pretty cool. I don't know.
I think it's neat to kind of have a bit of mystery, ambiguity. Like you're not confined to any specific genre. It's music that you like to listen to and kind of experimenting with that.
Yeah.
I was listening to some of the music. I feel like so you have some releases on Spotify, and I think those are
Oh
kind of
yeah.
more like chill. You also get to collaborate with your sister, Priscilla or Scylla, right?
Yeah. She's
Is it
great.
fun working with her on music?
Oh, it's great. I mean, she's got a natural talent for it. Me, I kind of just I like production and I like anything creating. And I feel like that's why I dove into music because unlike acting, it's a place you have full control and something you can do straight from your home. I feel like that's what I really fell in love with is just the production and yeah, I forgot my stuff is still on sound. I got a
It is
couple
on
of
SoundCloud
old stuff.
too. I
Couple of
liked
old stuff
there were a
there.
number. I feel like it's this mix between like hip hop and you have like the punk kind of more alt rock influences on your SoundCloud, which is more demos maybe.
That's a good one. Yeah.
There was which ones did I listen to? I liked Anxious, there's Birds, Cold Air, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of dramatic stuff. I don't know. I'm a little sad boy.
Little moody, little angsty,
Little
like your
moody
character.
guy.
Are
Yeah.
you working on any new music and can you play any other instruments beside the guitar?
Um, I don't even think I'm that great at guitar. I know I could play for like recording purposes and I know how to hit a couple notes and I feel like with that with all my instruments, I'm on the same level. I know how to I'm pretty decent with the bass only because I'm a dancer and I know how to follow a certain groove. Same with drums. I like drums. I wouldn't say I'm great at any of them. I know I could do a few things with them. I love the keys, big keyboard head. I want to buy more synths. I love really old, cool looking synths, and they're all super expensive. Music equipment is so expensive, and I cry, but that's that's what I love. And yeah, I would say I want to invest in more music gear.
So is more music coming?
Sorry, I totally ignored the question.
I was like waiting for
This is
it
what
to
I was
come.
going to go with. More music. Fun question. Um, it's intimidating. I mean, you have people like actually looking at you now, and it's like it's scary. Because it's something I do every day. I'm just in the garage making music, and whether I put that out, who knows yet? Whether I go by a different name and put something out, who knows yet? Because even the work I have out now, I'm coming to terms with them. Like, okay, it's old work, it's cool, but it's definitely not the direction I'm in right now, which I have all my demos on. And I do feel like as an artist, you are kind of obligated to share it with people. So I maybe we'll see. I'm not saying it'll come under my name or whether people will hear it under me, but music might come out somewhere and it might be me and
You'll never know.
you'll never know.
Well, we hope so. And well, the thing is, I know sometimes artists feel a little hesitant, but you're always constantly evolving. And so, I mean, what's important is you're making the music that you like to make at the time and that resonates with you. I have one more question for you. It's our signature question. If you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
It's like coffee ice cream. I know that was fast. Um God, I just love coffee. I'm very it has nothing like to do with my personality. It's just something I like. Uh Coffee ice cream because I feel like I'm addicted to coffee and caffeine and I need it every day. And I throw a fit when I don't have it on set. And I get mad at everyone and start throwing stuff around. And I love coffee because I feel like, oh, this is me just completely pulling this out of my ass. I feel like I'm very energy wise, I'm very either here or here. You know what I mean? And I think that's because of the coffee. But you could either catch me on a really good day where I could be sociable and cool, or I'm like, okay, leave me in my room. I just need to make music and not talk to anyone at all. And people hate me for that, but it's just what I need to do. So I would say that relates with the whole coffee thing. I'm a coffee flavored. It's the best flavor. You ever tried Haagen-Dazs Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream?
I will have to now.
Oh my God, that is the best ice cream flavor. Or Wild and Reckless sherbet at Baskin Robbins. It's a good one.
Favorite coffee place in California?
In California. I ain't with the blue bottles or the Alfredos. Alfredos? Is it Alfred's? I don't know. I'm not with the bougie coffee. I just I either make my own coffee or I just go to the Starbucks down the street.
What's your
Tim,
Starbucks order?
I like a white mocha. I like a white mocha with hazelnut. Hot.
A lot of sugar in
Or
there.
yeah, I love sugar. I don't even think I like the coffee anymore. I think I just love sugar. Uh that or I like chai. Chai's nice. If I'm having a weekday and I'm just like, oh well, I need something. I'll get a nice chai.
I love it. I love that answer. Thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat. It was such a
Thank
pleasure.
you. These questions were great, by the way, and I love how in depth they were. I'm not great with interviews. Most of the time because it's just me figuring out how to recollect my thoughts and what I was actually thinking and what I'm thinking now in retrospect. It's the show's been out the show came out. I mean, we filmed like almost a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it's been some
Oh,
time. You're trying to like think back, but anything that you remember, honestly, it's such a treat to hear the behind the scenes. So thank you again. I hope new music is coming. But until then, for all those who are watching this interview, make sure to catch Myles in My Life with the Walter Boys. Season 1 is out on Netflix. Continue to watch and show your support, and we will see you next time.
thank you so much.